Well, let's take a look at one or two of the main protagonists. Karlstrom, I mentioned already, Perseus Karlstrom, World Championship bronze medalist in the sprint. He stole that bronze last year in Eugene. Finished fourth in the
We'll be looking to see
35K.
We'll be looking to see if he has something planned, if he does medal again this year. He had a hat last year. Now we have Yamanishi, the defending champion from Japan, an Olympic silver medalist as well in this event. As we said, trying to make history for the third time in a row.
And his teammate Koki Ikeda, also from Japan, was the silver medalist at those Tokyo Olympics. They actually took place in Sapporo, of course. He was the silver medalist in Eugene 12 months ago as well. And he won the Japanese trial race in great form.
And here we have Matti Hellebrandt, the local champion, 17 times national champion of Hungary. He's more a 50-kilometre specialist. He finished 5th in the World Championships in 2017.
Well, we mentioned that it is a wide open race, and it really is, because the Japanese might be favourites. They and the likes of Karlstrom make sure it's hard and fast, but it's always nice to know there is the unexpected to expect.
Absolutely, and I think that changing conditions will be evident here.
Well, they're off, and these 19th World Athletics Championships in Budapest get underway in bizarre circumstances. It was a glorious morning earlier, it was a glorious evening last night, but about an hour and a half ago, the heavens opened, having been darkening for about 20 minutes. The sky was almost black, it was almost night about an hour and 45 minutes ago. Then the heavens opened. It's still been raining over this last 10 or 15 minutes. Nobody expected this. It wasn't predicted yesterday. Only with about an hour's warning did we believe that there was a storm coming at us. They've had it over at the stadium, about 5 kilometers away from here, further to the south of the city, adjacent to the Danube. It's changed the timetable there, and it's changed the conditions of this race this morning. 20 kilometers, 20 laps of this circuit, and it throws up all sorts of possibilities, Jane. I mean, it's nice in a way that it's an unusual situation.
Absolutely. I think the athletes that see this as something that they can overcome, a challenge that the weaker athletes might think it's too difficult and they haven't got their mindset on racing at a later time or in cooler climate or in a wet surface. The ones that can overcome that, they were in the call room when they made the decision to delay. There was lightning around us all here, so it was actually dangerous conditions for the athletes to compete. So it was a fair decision for the safety of the athletes, but also the spectators.
Well, here's that first turn on Andrassy Avenue. Behind this camera, it stretches down almost to the Danube, about 3 kilometers. They make that turn, and then they've got the drink station there to their right now. You can see those sort of white flags above the walkers. There they are, top left of your picture. And then they will pass in a second, a sign saying 500 meters, so they'll be halfway round each lap. About 100 meters after that turn, the Brazilian Bonfim is an experienced competitor, and actually...
he has the fastest, second fastest time this year. Yes, his PB this year, and he was 4th at the 2016 Olympics. And as they went round that turn, you might have heard me make a little bit of a noise, because actually one athlete did slip on the turn. I'm not sure if it was the Argentinian athlete, but the surface out there can be quite slippery. You can see the puddles there. So I think, you know, you'd be trying to avoid those puddles and keeping on that higher ground there if you were continuing, if you could, because you can see there's a big group there and it's difficult to make your own way in that middle of the group. World Championship, Olympic Games, they're all about winning medals, not about times. So, and Sapporo was very warm and humid, so that's very different. You can see the Italian Stano, the current world champion in the 35 kilometre and current Olympic champion in the 20 kilometres. So I'm sure he will move up the pack, but it has spread out quite a lot in this first 2 kilometres.
How big a disadvantage is it, Jane, to get a yellow card very early on in the race? How significant is it to get a warning like Ikeda got at that turn, because he sort of semi-jogged around the turn? We know that a lot of athletes take advantage of that because the judges aren't really looking there. Is it a bit like getting a yellow card really on in football, in soccer? Well,
it's different to a yellow card in soccer. So the yellow paddles, you'll see that the judges issue them to athletes, and more so as they spread out because they can see the athletes better. That's just the judge saying, I'm looking at you, be very careful. The judge is really looking to see if they're breaking the rules. They weren't sure, that they want to look at them again. So, but it's actually giving the judge, the athlete, a little bit of information saying, you know, I'm looking at you, and that was for contact, his yellow paddle. So they're looking at him thinking, you're looking a bit rough with contact, you need to work on that. So he should work on that over this next couple of laps and make sure that he doesn't bring the judge's eye toward him. But being out in the front there, that's when the judges look at you even more.
Well, Ikeda is the world number 3 this year. He won the Japanese trial in February. We know he's super consistent. He was 6th in the sweltering heat of Doha back in 2019, and then last year got it so nearly right with that silver medal in Eugene. But were you expecting this, Jane, one of the Japanese to take it out this aggressively?
Yes, I think that the Japanese have been known that they're confident in their race walking, they're confident in their training. They don't race a lot outside of Japan. They might go to China for a few races there. We just saw, I think that was the Colombian, was it Pintado, that just got a paddle there as well. And this year, I think they went to and raced in Rio Maior in Portugal in the World Race Walking Challenge event there in Portugal. Yamanishi raced there and he placed 3rd there. So I think that they're slowly but surely racing a little bit more outside of Japan, which is great for race walking. And you can see the Turkish athlete, which really we haven't seen much about him this year in the competitions, but he's really making his way up to Ikeda there. I think, you know, you'll see this field lengthen out and string out over the next couple of kilometres, and a lot of them will just be sitting there, and you'll see other athletes like Evan Dunphy, who's a longer specialist, come through.
Well, the pace at the time at 2 kilometres was just under 8 minutes, so it is very, very aggressive walking. I mean, Salih Korkmaz, the Turk there in 2nd place, who's gone with Ikeda. He's not one of the favourites. He has walked 1:18 back in 2021. This year only 1:22, so a little bit off the times of the very top fellas. But, you know, it's kind of a game of bluff sometimes, Jane, because it's easy in almost any distance race, whether it's running or walking, to be near the front through the early stages. You know, how are you going to handle it through the middle and, more importantly, the latter stages? That's the truth of the matter. So the way the race is unfolding at the moment is very, very different to the way it'll be in half an hour's time. Absolutely.
You'll see athletes come through, and even in the last couple of kilometres, you'll see them come through, and especially the ones that are much stronger, they will survive this pace, and there'll be some surges as well, and we'll see some significant changes in the lead and in the time. There's another yellow paddle for, I'm not sure whether that was Ikeda or the Turkish athlete.
Well, his walking is absolutely metronomic. His first 5K was 19:18. His second 5K, listen to this, 19 minutes 20. A 2-second difference over almost a 20-minute period is astonishing. It's metronomic, and it is unrelenting, and he's moving away. The gap, 15 seconds at 10K, 38:37. He's still on schedule to perhaps break the world record on the streets of Budapest today. It is astonishingly aggressive walking. It is only halfway, and I know that my old mate Brendan Foster used to say about 10,000 metres on the track, 25 laps of the track. He used to say the halfway point is about 20 laps. It all happens in the last couple of laps.
And I think you'll see that here too, that this pack has got their eye on him. But it is a blistering pace, and it'll be interesting to see if he can break his compatriot's world record, Yusuke Suzuki, that was done in 2015, the world record being 1:16:36. Interestingly as well, in the top 11 athletes, every area of the 6 areas within world athletics is represented. So we've got an African, we've got a North American, and we've got Europeans and Oceania, and Asia obviously there in numbers. So it's great to see that the depth of race walking throughout the world.
There's a lovely shot from our cam high above the race, our camera high above the race, the zip wire cam. Ikeda, top of picture in the pink, disappearing off up Andrassy Avenue. Ooh, and these athletes are slipping on this tight corner. You wonder sometimes if it needs to be quite so tight, but obviously there are regulations and rules and minimum diameters to that turn. But here is Ikeda now, still looking very, very cool indeed. Now, is that cap new? Was he wearing that earlier on?
No, he was wearing a hat before. He didn't have his sunglasses on before, I don't think. I think he might have put them on.
Well, I thought maybe we were going to see some of those cooling caps that became fashionable in Rio. Ooh, and Jukash of Latvia stepping into the penalty zone, so it'll be a 2-minute delay for him. And
so you can see his number on that board there, 3 red cards for knees, the bent.
And that kills off your race effectively, Jane.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about this yesterday, weren't we? And sort of querying why it's such a massive penalty. Why isn't it 30 seconds? That would be crippling. 2 minutes, you might as well. So tell him to go and have a shower.
Yeah, I suppose you've got to make it strong enough to ensure that people don't push the limits too much as well, because, you know, you want to not encourage it, you want to discourage it from now, from once they get a red card or 3 red cards. So obviously I was part of the decision that made the 2 minutes, and it was difficult to say what is the best, is it shorter or longer, but we wanted people to be able to continue in the race, but with a strong enough penalty that they weren't among, you know, they couldn't fight maybe for the medals. 2 minutes is very, you can't come back from that in such a short race. But it's actually 30 seconds every 5K, so 35 is more.
Jane, you were an Olympic bronze medalist back in 2004. If you were in his shoes, walking around this sort of big left-hand sweep on Hero Square, would you take absolute advantage of the opportunity to glance across and see how far the pack is behind, or do you try and stay isolated mentally?
Well, I wouldn't turn, because that's such a big turn. He can see them on the course as he goes down, and he makes that really short turn down the other end of the course. So this is such a sweeping turn, which is great for race walking, because as we saw on that last turn, when I made that little noise, I saw Kathimba fall to the ground. And so they're fighting in that pack around the turn. He's got that tight turn easy for him.
Well, Ikeda heads out then with 11 kilometres behind him, 11 laps, a 15-second lead he has as he heads off down Andrassy Avenue into the second half of the race now, well into the second half of the race. But how will it go? Maybe several acts yet to unfold through this next 9 kilometres. Well, he's back onto the orange carpet once again. Now, this will be telling if the gap is down into single figures. It was 10 seconds at 13K when he negotiates this next left-hand turn on the carpet of Hero Square. If it gets down to single figures, then we have a different act, so to speak, in this unfolding drama about to be unleashed on us. Ikeda here. Still not really showing any signs of strain. Is there a little bit more rocking of the shoulders there, Jane? Just very, very imperceptibly looking more stressed. I suppose that's perfectly legitimate when you see the pace he's been moving at. Remember, up to 10K, he was at world record tempo. Went through 10K in 38.37, but he has slowed by a couple of seconds per kilometre since then. So he's now probably about 10 or 15 seconds outside world record schedule as he's coming up to 14 kilometres.
Yes, I would agree with you there that his shoulders are rocking a little bit more, and that's something that you want to keep smooth and flat. It's a waste of energy them rocking around, and it also doesn't look good for the judges. The judges want to see smooth, excellent race walking. Okay, that 1 kilometre, 3:59. If that's correct, that's a big drop. 4-second drop, and Bonfim's gone through in 3:56, so he's made a significant move in that last kilometre.
7 seconds the gap as they go through 14K. Caio Bonfim of Brazil is chasing hard. Korkmaz a couple of seconds back. There's separation now between the athletes in silver and bronze medal positions. Ikeda will be getting that information. He will be getting informed of that. There's one of his teammates giving Bonfim a drink.
And interestingly as well, you'll see Alvaro Martin and Perseus Karlström, they did a 3-minute 53 lap, and Evan Dunphy did 3:52. As you saw Perseus Karlström pull away, coming through that finish area on the last lap. They've gone through in 6 seconds or 7 seconds faster than Ikeda, the leader. So they're closing in, Tim. This is going to be a great last 5 kilometres, 6 kilometres of the race.
So the gap is closing. There is Kathimba, Samuel Kireri Kathimba, the 4th placer last year in Eugene. How he would love to get on the roster. Him and his coach George Kariuki have been talking about how difficult it is to get funding and indeed racing opportunities back in Kenya. Indeed, there aren't enough judges very often for races to become valid. It's a terribly challenging environment for Kathimba back in Kenya to train and try and find racing opportunities. But he's giving a wonderful account of himself at the moment. You can see there he's turning in the background. He's back in Kathimba. He's in 7th place at 14K, 15 seconds behind Ikeda, but he's still very much in the hunt.
Alvaro Martin has just taken over Bonfim to move into 2nd place.
Well, they're approaching 15 kilometers, this chasing pack in this men's 20 kilometers event. The first medal race or competition of these 19th World Athletics Championships in unexpectedly wet conditions. It's still warm out there, 24 degrees centigrade, but here's the race leader, Ikeda. He's led since the gun. He was on world record pace at 10K, but he is being chased down. He's approaching 15K in a couple of minutes at time, and Martin of Spain, Jane Saville, is really closing down on him aggressively here, the tall figure in the white cat writer picture.
It's exciting. I can't believe it. Martin is a great finisher. He missed a medal at the Olympics by 18 seconds.
Ikeda then is onto the carpet, and look at the way that Martin of Spain is closing down on the Japanese. He had a 15-second lead about 15-20 minutes ago. Now he's been closed down dramatically, and he loses his lead on the orange carpet of Heroes Square. Martin has poured it on the Spaniard. This is incredible, the acceleration from Alvaro Martin, the twice European champion at this distance. He took gold in 2018 in Berlin. He retained that gold last summer in Munich. He's won 7 of his 9 races this year. And I tell you what, if this acceleration, if this charge, Jane, still with some 5K to go, if this is maintained, he's going to win 8 out of 10.
Well, you know, the Olympics when the races were in Sapporo in 21, Martin received a 4th place. The Spanish team had 3 4th places. They call them the Medalla de Chocolate, the chocolate medals for the Spanish. So they were the team of the chocolate medals. He trains in the south of Spain, in Murcia, with his coach Carrillo, and he's actually from Extremadura, which is in the southwest of Spain, and a small town down there which is hot and dry.
5 laps to go. They've gone through 15K. We have a new race leader. Alvaro Martin of Spain goes through in 58.17 at 5K. But the fastest athletes behind him are Dunphy and Karlstrom. Their charge is on as well. Now, Ikeda here, Jane. I mean, it may be sort of a little bit mentally depressing to be passed by somebody when he had such a big lead. But his job now surely is to latch onto the vest of Martin and try and be dragged away from those chasers.
Absolutely. He's going to try and hang on for dear life here. But Martin did the last kilometre in 3:43. His last kilometre. So he is absolutely bringing it home. You can see the Spanish flags in the background there. He's actually studying law. He's doing his 2nd degree, has a political science degree, and he's doing his final year in law. He's a very smart man and a very talented man. And you can just see in the background of him as well is João Vieira from Portugal, who we spoke about earlier in the commentary, who was doing his 13th World Championships, getting lapped there. But he has done very well for himself, 47 years of age, to be participating at such an elite level. But Martin is certainly taking it, and he has a couple of metres on Ikeda now.
Well, it's all happening in the latter stages here. We're into the final quarter of this men's 20K. Karlstrom is charging as well. He's going really well along with Evan Dunphy. Dunphy, the Canadian, the Commonwealth champion from Birmingham last summer, has been training in St. Moritz. Lives and trains in Melbourne under normal circumstances, but has been training in St. Moritz with Declan Tingate, the Commonwealth silver medalist at 10,000 metres on the track last summer. And their task now is to maintain their tempo and try and pick off athletes in front of them and get amongst the medals. But Martin here, I'll tell you what, there's a real contrast, Jane, between his rather long, raking strikes, he's so tall, and that of Ikeda, which was a really busy, fast cadence.
And even of Bonfim here, you can see his short stride, whereas Martin really uses his hips and his arms are low and he drives. And the Spanish really work on their techniques a lot, and they're perfectionists. They stand, they do race walking in front of a mirror on a treadmill. They have mirrors around looking for technical faults. Now, you can see in this camera Dunphy and Karlstrom, they've been training together in St. Moritz. They did a fabulous 20-kilometre training session around the lake of St. Moritz. It was 2-kilometre reps, 8 2-kilometre reps with a 500-metre float in between. And they did 1:22.50 for that training session. So they were, yeah.
122 in training.
In training.
At altitude.
At altitude, 1,400 metres. So look for these two, really. And Evan Dunphy's been talking about how he's a 50-kilometre walker and he's got no speed. Well, if he does a PB today, it'll be his PB after 13 years.
Here's Martin coming up towards the 16-kilometre point. Well, the latter stages of this walk have seen dramatic changes in the leaders, and it's Martin of Spain who is the leader at 16K at the last lap counter. He had a lead of 6 seconds over Bonfim of Brazil, the Spaniard here, the European champion from Munich last summer, where he retained his title from Berlin 4 years previously. Is in fantastic form. Bonfim 6 seconds down. The Brazilian is on 2 warning cards. If he gets a third, he'll be shown into the penalty zone where he'll have to sit out a 2-minute penalty. And Karlström of Sweden, the super consistent bronze medalist from last year in Eugene, he is in 3rd place and he's on a charge. And Karlström at the moment doesn't have any warnings, Jane Saville.
No, none at all. He's a very strong and efficient race walker and rarely gets cards. And you can see Alvaro Martin just coming to lap Diego Garcia, and certainly Diego will be very disappointed in his performance today. He was hoping definitely for a top 8 finish. He's actually standing as a candidate for the Athletes Commission on World Athletics this week, where the athletes can vote. So I'm sure he'll be cheering on his compatriot. You can see he said something to him there. It's great to see. But interesting as well, you can see Ikeda did a 4:02 last lap, so he is slowing significantly. He's the slowest of the top 9 or 10 athletes in this race so far in that last kilometre. And Pintado's still staying there, but the Kenyan athlete, you can see Gathimba has 2 red cards.
Alvaro Martin then about to come through 17K. 3 1-kilometre laps to go after this as he goes through. He's been in fabulously consistent form this year, winning nearly all of his races. He's a big advocate too, politically, for retaining race walking in the Olympic Games. Ironically, he was 4th in Sapporo a couple of years ago at the Games, but he is European champion and he may be heading for a World Championship gold. Some acts yet to unfold here. 3K to go, 3 laps to come, but Martin has a lead of 8 seconds over Bonfim, the Brazilian. He's stretched that lead a little bit ahead of Karlström as well, who's only 2 seconds down on Bonfim. I wonder if Bonfim is walking conservatively here because he knows he's on 2 warning cards.
Okay, you'll also see here Massimo Stano's pulled out of the race.
That's a big name out of the race as well.
World champion, 35 kilometres, Olympic champion. But he might be thinking, well, I'm on a bad day. Maybe I should look for the 35 and save myself for 4 days down the 4 or 5 days later.
Well, he has been injured this year, maybe regarding the majority of this 20K walk this morning as a good hard training session before Thursday's 35K. There's Martin lapping another athlete, that's Cosi, one of the Italians there, being caught by Martin. He's a 22-year-old Cosi, set his season's best of 1:21 in Milazzo back in January, but it underlines the calibre of this walk from Alvaro Martin, that he's passing world-class athletes, lapping world-class athletes. Karlström, bottom left of picture, just is about to negotiate the turn. Karlström was 10 seconds down at 17K, Jane. Karlström is renowned for his strong finishes, isn't he?
Yes, definitely, and he's looking at the 35 kilometres as well, and I really looked at him and Evan Dunphy to come through this pack in the latter stages, but Evan actually has dropped off a little bit in that last lap. He dropped off 8 seconds. He's 8 seconds slower than Perseus Karlström. So also we've just seen that the Finnish athlete is having the race of his life, Partanen. He actually has 1 red card. He's in 7th place at the moment. He has 1 red card for loss of contact, but he's still having an excellent race. And look at
8 seconds, the gap back to Bonfim and Martin. Bonfim and Karlström, excuse me, Martin leading. A further 11 seconds back to Dunphy. Dunphy going through a couple of bad laps, going through a little bad section, and he's normally a strong finisher, Dunphy.
Yeah, you know, this can happen. We'll see, because he's such a gutsy athlete, and you might think he's finished, and then you just see him pop up, and you didn't even see him coming. So I wouldn't write him off yet, but as you can see, Perseus Karlström has come up to the shoulder of Bonfim, and I think he knows he can get him.
Well, Martin is onto the carpet once again. He's only got a couple of laps to go when he passes through the lap marker at the end of this orange carpeted horseshoe shape around Heroes Square. And a little bit early to be celebrating just yet. There are athletes behind him well capable of charging. Evan Dunphy, when he took his Olympic medal in Sapporo, he came through from nowhere over the last lap, over the last couple of K to snatch that place on the rostrum. But Alvaro Martin here, Jane, with an 8-second gap back to Bonfim, a 10-second gap back to Karlstrom at the last kilometre marking. We'll see how it's worked out now, whether or not Karlstrom and Bonfim are catching, or if there are any significant changes behind. Dunphy in 4th, Christopher Linker of Germany is in 5th, but he was nearly 30 seconds down at 17K, so I'm not sure that we're going to see anybody else really challenge for the medals now, apart from these athletes in the top 4.
Yes, I think, you know, we can safely say that, but who knows, it's race walking, so maybe, you know, obviously Bonfim has 2 red cards. Martin has just gone through in a 3:51 last 1 kilometre, and Perseus Karlstrom has done the same time, 3:51.
Well, Karlstrom catching Bonfim, and Bonfim does not want to let him go at that drink station. Karlstrom getting that water over his head. He's a huge fella. Maybe he needs that cooling effect. But Bonfim there in the green of Brazil is on 2 warning cards. He's got to be very, very cautious here. Karlstrom in 3rd place. Is this the battle for the silver and bronze medals? And Martin, at the moment, with that 10-second gap, which has grown a little bit over the last kilometre, may well be heading to Spanish gold. Bonfim then with that strange low arm carriage of his powering along the Brazilian. He's on 2 red cards. A 3rd would be disastrous for him. Karlstrom applying the pressure now. Karlstrom, who wears his heart in his sleeve, he's physically looked absolutely on the red line for the last 6 or 8 kilometres, and he goes past Bonfim into silver medal position. 1 better than Eugene last year. This is a massive surge from Karlstrom, and he's doing what so many coaches say. They say if you're going to pass somebody, really smash them into the ground. Make it a very, very telling pass. Accelerate big when you've got past them. Open up a gap. Don't just stay a metre ahead of them and give them something to cling on to. Really grind them into the ground, so to speak, is what his coach will have told him. Martin here is lapping the defending champion. Unbelievable. Yamanishi of Japan has not had a great day at the races, but one man that has is holding that Spanish flag aloft. Alvaro Martin of Spain, the European champion, is surely about to be crowned world champion as he negotiates this final circuit on the orange carpet of Heroes Square. A little check, a little glance over his shoulder there, but there's no need to worry. He had a 13-second gap at 19 kilometres. This last final 1 kilometre circuit here in Budapest has been a breeze for the tall Spaniard. It has been an astonishing final 6 kilometres from him since he took the lead. He has blown away this field in a world-class style, leading him to a world title. It is the first gold of these 19th World Athletics Championships in Budapest. It is for Spain and Alvaro Martin in the 20-kilometre walk, and look at the time, 1:17.32. He finishes unofficially 11 seconds just outside the championship record, but that matters not a jot. He has that gold, and Sweden have super silver. 1 better for Karlstrom than in Eugene last year. And Brazil, Bonfim, despite the pressure of those 2 warning cards, hangs on for that bronze. Great effort from Caio Bonfim to take a place on the rostrum. Evan Dunphy finishing strongly again, punching the air with 4th place. Linker, the nearly man, he's nearly on the rostrum yet again. It goes on and on for Germany's best walker.
Evan Dunphy has just done a 2-minute PB. The last time he did a PB in that, his PB in that in the 20-kilometre walk was 9.5 years ago. That's a huge PB.
Partanen of Finland takes 6th. Evan Tingay takes 7th. Great walking from Declan Tingay. Gathimba back in 9th place. In fact, just looking, Pintado, I missed him. Excuse me, I missed Pintado. They're coming through for that 7th place. Great walking from him, the Ecuadorian, Brian Daniel Pintado. We hardly saw him. He must have finished like a train. Tingay 8th for Australia, Gathimbe 9th. The Frenchman, Bourdier, he's come through strongly. Some athletes have made massive efforts in the latter stages. Bourdier just making the top 10. The top Italian, Fortunato 11th. Koga in 12th. Of course, one athlete we haven't seen come home just yet is Ikeda of Japan, the athlete who led for so much of this race. About the first 14 kilometres, I think it was, before he lost his lead, Jane.
Yes, it's we were talking about that earlier, and look at coming through now is Amazucao from Spain and Cowley. Wow, he's had a race of his life.